Thank you guys so much for joining us. This is the Q&A for Nightfire, the pilot that you've just seen. So we have the creators and some of the cast here with us. Brando, thank you so much for joining us, the writer-director. Garrett, cinematographer. We have two cast members in Bradley and Greg. Thank you guys for being here.
Happy to be
Thank
here.
you.
So I want to talk about, first of all, I think that this project, hands down, wins the awards for pyro, stunts. I mean, it's just, it blows away anything else in the action department at the festival. So I kind of want to talk about that. I mean, how did you pull all that stuff off without a big studio budget, honestly? I mean, it just looks so broadcast ready, so crisp, so clean, so put together. And I mean, so many questions on stunts. So can we start there, Brando?
Sure. And I'm eager to ask, Garrett can talk about shooting those and for Greg and Bradley to have been exposed to it. But I think the pleasure of being to Italy is the understanding that there's a level of artistry, in regards to the special effects, not to be confused with the visual effects, where everybody, not only these things are handcrafted, but the way it all started is Brando in shorts in a summer in Rome knocking on the laboratory of these special effects guys and telling them, it's a student project. We don't have a lot of money. And we literally, I had a list of everything we wanted to. And I was like, well, this is the money. So just stop me when we run out of money. And these guys were so game. I think every department was so game to, cut some corners just because they saw that there was a level of passion there. And the two departments we really didn't want to, sacrifice budget on, which I think is important for safety, as you said, stunts and special effects, and working with professionals who had been exposed to projects far larger than anything we could have imagined. So what for us is mind-blowing, and trust me, I think all of us were really excited to translate some of these ideas into in-camera practical action, was the fact that for them it was a piece of cake, so every time we'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, we need this. They're like, no problem, we got it for you. Wow. And by sprinkling the action, I think through the course of the movie, it just generates this level of excitement.
It's fantastic. And Bradley, I'm so sorry you got shot in a public square.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
I always have a twin brother that's coming back later. Brandon he hasn't written it. I was going to write it for him. I don't mind dying. It's actually, to be honest, it's a bit of a joke in my family. My family's always like, why are you always dying? And I was like, I don't know, maybe I don't look trustworthy, I guess.
From the opening scene when you gave your speech and kind of took your glasses off, I was like, I'm going to watch that guy. He's not what he seems. But did you have, so where you shot in Rome, what was it like? Because the location.
Oh, this is the fun thing.
You did shoot in Rome.
We did not shoot in Rome, and I'll tell you something. Talking about challenging Imperial, we shot in my hometown, which is Verona, which is in the north between Milan and Venice. And I think for the longest time we had the title Verona, Italy in there, right? Just because, it obviously made sense. And then eventually, I think for the final version we sent over, it was like, let's just lose Verona. It doesn't matter the specificity. I think by the emotion of being in Italy is far more important than the specifics of where we shot it. Yeah. But I do agree with you that Verona looks very much like Rome, which is why, again, the reason of we don't really define why we're in Italy, specifically out of all the countries or where in Italy we are, but it seems to work. And again, by connecting the dots, at least in your mind, we're in the most Italian place of Italy we could imagine, which is, as you mentioned, Rome. But I think Garrett can talk about too in regards to understanding the emotion and the scale. That's what I think we loved about the idea of using wide angles was showing the location to people.
The location was a character, and I think you did a phenomenal job showing that off, Garrett, because it was because of those wide shots and those establishing location shots. You could tell it was like, okay, we're not in Croatia and we're trying to cheat it and keeping it tight. It became a character in the story, which was really well done.
Yeah, and Brando and I spent about a week there scouting all of the locations we were going to shoot at. And it was the biggest thing he wanted to do was be able to take the architecture, take the locations, and make them feel as though they were a character in the film. We're both huge fans of action movies. I mean, that's where our inspiration started, from James Bond films, Mission Impossible. The first John Wick had just come out. And so a lot of it, this was actually Brando's plan as a vendetta against the architecture of Italy to blow most of it up. So we decided we could make a movie around that. But it almost seemed as though each location we stopped at, Brando had this like really elaborate plan on these stunt sequences that, you know, we're gonna, a car screaming through the streets. And I mean, as we're walking through them, these are public areas, hundreds of people walking through. So from our perspective, you know, we could only map it out generally in our minds. You know, we took as many photos and angles as we could to pre-plan for what the look of this would be. But yeah, it was, I mean, it was an adventure. Just, you know, every place we went had something so distinct about it that, you know, it did most of the work for us, to be honest.
That's incredible. And so I mean, it had a very cohesive look and feel. I mean, the action was, like, as you said, sprinkled throughout. And how did the stunts go down? I mean, Greg, did you have to participate in any of the stunts? I mean, there was like the prison scene and there's kind of some hands-on stuff. How did that go over for you?
So there's a little bit of a backstory that not a lot of people understand, is that I got a phone call about, what was it, Garrett, 3 days before you started shooting?
Yeah.
Before flying to Italy almost.
Yeah, saying, so I was one of Garrett's football coaches in college for his college football team. And he gave me a call. We had done some work before, and he gave me a call. Correct. Okay. And he gave me a call and said, we need you to come out and be in this movie. And I said, okay, let me talk to my mom first. First I had to talk to mom. You got to talk to mom with everything. And then, can you please pay a month of my rent? Because I was going to be gone for 13 days. I was working 4 jobs other than coaching. And they go, okay, done. So hopped on a plane. And the first thing I did was met with the stunt coordinator. Yeah. And started working on the fight scenes and started working on that. They tried getting me on a motorcycle, you know, trying to figure out all these different ways that we could, like, this was my first time being on a movie set, really.
We literally tried teaching him to drive a motorcycle with no experience on how a hand clutch works and shifting. Yeah. And yeah, we almost lost him on a couple skid outs a few times.
You don't want to have to call mom and tell him what happened.
Right.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
That's right.
So no, it was a real great experience for me. I was just in awe of all these people who were working so hard and working so passionately. That was the thing, and that was something that I can buy into for sure. And just seeing everybody, and there was no issue as far as language barrier or anything like that, because there was excitement around everything. You know, but no, it was.
And it's the reason you're credited in the movie in the stunt department as well. You know, it's you can probably recall one of your last days you were jumping in. We were shooting, the opening of the movie was shot last in the military base. And I think the temperature of the water was something in the 40s degree, like freezing water. Yeah. And Greg jumped in, you know, in regards to this, by the way, goes, whether it's Brad getting shot and falling down or Greg jumping in a frozen river, it allows Garrett to shoot action in a way that feels emotional. Because as you said, we're not there to cheat things. It's like, what is the camera angle that's going to allow for audiences to understand there is no hiding it. This is it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do everything, but Brando was nice enough to put an arm around me and say, no, we don't have enough money to do this thing twice. So it's as far as you jumping off of something that we're going to blow up, we're going to have the professionals do that. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. Well, if I can still jump into the river and come out of it, I'm going to do that. I was really excited about it.
I think it was a good blend, and it was the fact that we only had about 12 days to really shoot the movie. And as it happens on far larger scales, if somebody gets hurt, there's no coming back for pickups. You know, there's no waiting around a couple of days. What we understood, which I think must have been exciting, because again, keep in mind, me and Garrett were still in college. There was an understanding, which for all of us was exciting, that by the time we were back from shooting Italy, this was shot over an equivalent of a winter break for students. We were going to have a full movie. There was no pickup. Like, that was going to be it. And I think it allowed for all of us to have a level of focus, knowing that, you know, we can't push days. We're going to have one chance at every single location to get every single scene. So there were no reshoots, no reshuffling of the schedule.
Yeah. That's amazing. So Brad, did you have 3 days notice too? Did you have to call your mom, or did you get a little bit more of a warning?
Well, I mean, I had to call
7 days
because I have to call my mom, but no, that had nothing really to do with me going. No, I had a little bit of warning because Brando had seen me in something else, and I don't even know the story, but we met up in New York, and then we had to do the suits and the whole deal there. But I think this I think this is quite funny because when he told me when he sent me the script, he told me he was going to do it, I was like, you're not going to be able to pull this off. But I was like, I don't know, I'm game. Let's see what we do. Let's go to Verona, right? So when I get there, Brando, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
So I got there on New Year's Eve, and he goes, you're not in your apartment yet. You're going to be in a hotel room for one night because your apartment's not open till tomorrow. And I was one block. What's the name of the main square?
Piazza Bra.
Piazza Bra.
Piazza Bra. There you go.
Yeah.
So they have their big New Year's celebration there, right? So after dinner at Brando's lovely mother's house, since the theme is mothers today, we had a really nice dinner. It was wonderful. But then I end up back at this hotel, and then I have no idea that I'm literally staying right in where the big celebration, all of Verona, is. And I also have no idea that the stage, how many people go to this thing, Brando, down there?
Thousands of people.
I would say 50, I don't know, 50, there's a lot of people. And there's this giant stage in the middle, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow, this is nuts. And I've also been at Brando's mother's house, and, it's Italy. There's a lot of wine, and I might have had some. And so I'm standing there, and I'm like, this is really wild. Not realizing that we were going to be filming on that stage the next day or the day after.
Yeah.
Which is where I was going to die. And I was literally, when I went out there the next day, and Brando's like, this is where we're shooting, I was like, what? How is this possible? This is like... And then literally that explains the entire shoot. Everything we would show up, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. And I mean, even for you, Gary, you probably had a little bit of a runway, but I kept constantly saying, how is this possible? How do you have access to all of this?
I know.
And it was amazing. And I mean, you can see, as you've already said more than once, like what they pulled off is really breathtaking.
Really.
And I mean, most of it is practical, and most of it is, the locations are probably even more beautiful than they look.
I think I heard this amazing quote, Garrett. I remember you and I talking about the fact that James Wan talks about if casting is half of directing, then location is half of cinematography. And I think we went about building the movie in a way where, number one, the locations were dictating things because that's what makes it feel expensive and large. But at the same time, we engineered the storylines, listing all the things we had at our disposal. We knew that there was going to be a stage, and we simply asked the city hall to unmount it 2 days later. And I was like, well, we don't care. It doesn't cost us anything else. So by listing these things we knew we had, we wrote around those. And that's how I think we got access to, from the military base, which is actually at an amusement park, which was closed at the time. So that's how I think the spectacle and the pride on our end was. That's how we have access to these. We didn't go out of our way to buy things or build them, and all of it. For the majority was like, let's exploit the fact that nobody knows Verona. Nobody's going to recognize that stage or that film set or whatever, and we can use that to our advantage.
I mean,
but also
go
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was the whole time I can think, how did they do this? How did they get this talent? How did they get Dylan Baker? How are they doing all this pyro and these stunts? Like, my college project, I was in like a bar with like 3 people for the entire project. Let alone in Italy. It was incredible. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Garrett. Go ahead.
I was going to tell you, we were in a bar every day that wasn't our project. So that's how we compensated for it. But I was going to say half of the weight pulled as far as set design and production did come from the locations. Mm-hmm. And Piazza Bra, the one that Bradley was referring to, was actually our first day of shooting, which happened to be our biggest location.
A large crowd.
Yes, and we had hundreds of extras who all spoke Italian. So, any direction we had to give had to go through Brando or a few translators that we had on set with us. But given the fact that I think it was a 14-day production, Brando. 14 days we shot this in, and every single day, I mean, was absolute pressing limits of what everybody was capable of, mentally and physically, and we found ourselves often in a tough situation because of that. I mean, the first morning, I mean, we probably shot 5 or 6 hours past what we expected, and the sun was already coming back up in the middle of Piazza Bra.
The morning after,
the morning
so
after,
late.
5 or 6 a.m. and we're still drifting cars down the street. But it was just one of those things where I think everybody had it in them to just dig deep, because I mean, quite literally after that first day and just seeing how incredible this was going to be. I mean, we had no reason to stop. We were there. We were all passionate about it, and it fueled us more than anything that sleep could have provided otherwise.
I could sit here all day and talk about it, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just want to ask one last question. Where do we go from here? Should we be watching for it on SeriesFest and then hope that it takes it to the next level? What's the plan with it?
I think that would be incredibly exciting, and it's the reason, much like when we engineered this, soon enough we started realizing that without knowing we had constructed a TV pilot.
Yeah.
We all love, I think, loose end stories where you are left with this feeling of like, oh, you close the circle and you open another one back up.
Yeah.
And I think, Europe, I love to think of Europe as one giant movie backlot. It's about the voyeuristic element of transporting people to places they've never been and show them things they've never seen. And thanks to these amazing characters, I think all of them, Greg and Lorenzo and Dylan and even Brad, don't worry, we're going to unwrite that death so quickly.
You can easily.
Everything can be undone. Absolutely. But it would be exciting. And I definitely think that there's an appetite for these kind of, even thanks to Garrett's, cinematography, the sense of classic filmmaking, this idea of all due respect, but no shaky cam. It's just about, again, transporting the audience along with the characters and allowing the story to drift from country to country. And that was our most exciting thing. We went to Italy because it was our home and we had most access. But I think we all love, the flavor that different countries and different cities have to offer to a story like this.
Amazing. So my takeaway is shoot in Italy and just do it. Go ahead, Brad.
One thing real quick, because I think it's something that Brando won't be able to say, but I will, because I'm not Brando. I believe this particular project is the result of the trickle-down effect. And I've been on hundreds of TV and film sets in my life already.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that it all starts at the top and works its way down. And in this case, Brando being the one at the top who's like, this is what we're doing. And because of his ridiculous energy, and I mean ridiculous energy, I have a lot of energy and I pale in comparison to him. And Greg could probably attest this, the same thing in sports and football, right? Whoever's standing at the top of that pyramid, and I really believe this, if anything's possible with a guy like that guy, like Brando, because he won't stop until he gets what he wants. And the fact that we're talking about this all these years later means he also won't stop until he finishes it the way he wants, until he gets the product that he wants. And there's something about that that's it's an X factor, right? You can't teach that. So that's my 2 cents on it.
That's very nice. Oh, go ahead.
I agree. Yeah, Brando, it's infectious. There's no doubt. I mean, I think Greg, you probably remember the very first day, or we had like a rehearsal day, but we captured a few of the shots then. But we were in a jail cell, and I mean, it is one of the first shots of the movie right after Bradley's scene in the beginning. And I just remember this moment where, we're just getting this tracking shot of the feet walking along, and we tilt up, and Dylan and Greg showed up the set. I mean, they had, no scenes that day, but I just remember them talking and just saying, these guys just are having so much fun doing this. And I mean, we had the biggest smiles on our faces, and we're yelling across the set at each other. And it's just, it's those moments alone that just make you realize, like, this is what you want to do, and we felt it from everybody. So it was a good crew. It was a great cast, and we had an awesome time making it.
That's great. I love that. I'm feeling an energy now. I'm going to go find a bunch of money Brando, let's go make a movie in Italy. Brad, what's the schedule? We'll bring you back from the dead. We'll go get it going.
I'm in.
When the world goes back to normal and we can all go back to Italy again, we'll all just tear it up. I love it.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Guys, this was so great. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the project. It is incredible. You guys, truly, I mean, well done. Thank you for being here. Thank you
to everyone who put in the time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. For everyone sprinkled around the States right now, and it means a lot if we could get the band back together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you at SeriesFest in real life one of these days.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining.